So next speaker will be Jack Holliday, and he's going to talk about prevention and management of postoperative positive and negative dysphotopsia.
Burkhart, Bill, so good to be here for so many reasons, but I just have to take a second. So if you'll stop that clock, because I got to tell you this. It was 15 years ago. I'm sitting between Allah and a number of my friends down there who've been members forever, and it was 15 years ago this year that Dunbar Hoskins and ISRS was an independent organization. We had our meetings somewhere else in the hotels moving around, and we were $400,000 in debt that year for a number of things from mismanagement and things that are not important. But at that time, Dunbar had the foresight to say, you know, Jack, why don't we try to see if we can get that into the American Academy of Ophthalmology? And sure enough, by the end of that year, he said, you only have to do one thing, and that is raise $400,000 to pay off the debt, because we're not going to take that over for you. And I said, that's Dunbar. He was really good at that time about finances and things. And sure enough, guys like Dan Dury and a number of other people went out to industry, and industry came through, paid off that debt, and that year we came together, and that meeting that had RSIG had about 700 or 800 members, a refractive surgery group, and ISRS that had about the same number combined. And I look out today and realize how wonderful this is to have everything under as a part of the academy and be a part of that. And I'm just saying, we all have individually benefited from that, and I just wanted to thank everybody that was ever involved with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and about the prevention and management of dysphotopsias. And dysphotopsias is a word, none of my financial disclosures are important, but I will tell you that patients are very critical about their outcomes with cataract and refractive surgery today. And there's an advisory committee that's doing patient-reported outcomes that combine the Academy, the FDA, UCLA, RAND, and 4 of the manufacturers, the big guns, Alcon, B&L, J&J, and Zeiss. And those are the people on that committee that we're right now developing an instrument that I'm going to talk to you about that allows patients to report their outcomes visually by looking at different things, and you'll see. But tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the South Moscone in room 312, they'll have an event, so put that on your calendar, and they'll be talking about the patient-reported outcomes and stuff. Now, this slide that I show you here is an organization of visual disturbances from patients. And what you see is the big picture is entoptic and visual dysphotopsias, which is the word we use today. And then that's broken into positive and negative. Now, when we look at those, you'll see that the entoptic phenomenon are real simple. The patient sees a flash with his eyes closed. Okay, well, we don't care about that. That goes to retina. It's from the collapse of the vitreous. We know that the lens occupies 6% of the volume of the crystalline lens after surgery. So that leaves 94% of that volume for the vitreous to wiggle around, so it detaches. And it causes flashes where it's attached, which is the vitreous base, the vessels, the macula, and the optic nerve. So you refer those. But the simple is, when you close your eyes, can you see them? You know. Now, the negative dysphotopsia is easy for us to look at too. Now, we showed an article that basically this is what patients describe, this arcuate line or dark area in the extreme periphery, and in an article that we published a couple of years ago, we showed that the problem is really related to easy, you would have thought of this anyway, light rays that miss the IOL go to one part of the peripheral retina, and the light rays that pass through the lens, the most farthest refractive lay anteriorly, if those two don't overlap, you see a dark arcuate, and that happens to about 16% of the patients. So, things that we showed in that article that work are, we realized that the truncated was the biggest factor. High index of refraction is next, and then a host of other things like high intraocular lens power, high angle kappa, da-da-da-da-da. But the only thing from a lens design that seems to have affected that is something that just came out from an article this year by Dr. Erie, and it showed putting a little negative curve on the periphery of the lens like this. And when you put a little negative curve on that posterior rather than a biconvex, what it does is it disperses the rays and you end up filling that gap. Now, about 5 times, about 80% of the patients that have this the first day, it goes away. And the reason that it goes away is because the peripheral capsule, as it opacifies, scatters the light and fills that gap too. But anyway, this is the first lens design that actually does that. Now, positive dysphotopsia. There are 2 big categories: patient, which is apparent cord mu and the quality of the cornea. And then there are those that are related to the IOL, which are high index and truncated lenses. Now, this is the point that I want you to think about and the most important. Cord mu is what is now reported on the LensStar, the IOL Master, everything, and it's the distance from the apparent center of the pupil to the light reflex, first Purkinje image. If that value, which is reported on most machines, is greater than 0.6 of a millimeter, the optical performance of a diffractive lens is going to be poor. So you shouldn't put it in an eye that has that value larger. The second thing has to do with topography. If you do topography on the eye and you measure the wavefront error and it's more than 1 micron over a 6 millimeter zone, that patient is not going to see well. They're going to complain of halos and glare, and that's true whether it's post-refractive surgery with the laser or after you've done cataract surgery with a person that has a bad cornea from whatever, refractive surgery. Now, for those people that are less than those values, this is the best place to put a diffractive multifocal lens, halfway between the pupil center and halfway between the visual axis, because it wants to be at both places and can't. So the best compromise is halfway between. Now, as I said, the best corneal quality has to be better than 1 micron. People with 0.58 or less are going to be happy. Now, IOL problems, diffractive optics, and these are some of the things. These are the names that were coming up with this patient-reported outcomes, and this is what the patient sees. This is glare, snowball, halo, streaks, and a starburst. They also get reflection from truncated edge, and they'll see these little arcuate things on the edge that are from the headlights that you see right out here. They also will see a large arcuate thing from the edge of the lens from the overhead sky that they see as they're walking along, and the lens reflects that upper image. So these are the things that we'll have on those reported outcomes, allow us to get a baseline for that. And with that, I hope that you'll see that we are able to prevent, but mostly measure these outcomes on patients so we can truly evaluate the performance of an intraocular lens. Thank you so much for your attention, and again, it's so wonderful to be here today. Thank you.